Yo, what up, players? My name is Sester, and today we are going to be tie-dyeing some shirts. And now, this is going to be a reverse tie-dye, where you bleach a portion of the shirt and then you dye that portion for a really cool effect. Starting out, as you see, I'm just tracing everything up, and I begin to do a couple of basic pleats. And now, I'm speeding this up because it takes a super long time, and honestly, this was the most time-consuming and frustrating portion of the entire thing. It actually took me a super long time, and I really ended up messing it up. It was an extremely scuffed process, but I'm sure with ample practice, it really wouldn't be bad, especially for a seasoned tie-dyer. I just have never done this sort of fold, and so it was a little bit of a struggle. I also want to mention that this is not exactly a tutorial, although there is plenty you can learn, and you basically see the entire process, but I'm not going to be commentating how to do everything. This is just more of a tie-dye vlog sort of experience, so sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself a very scuffed process of a tie-dye that actually turned out super fantastic. I was actually super satisfied with the shirt itself, although I thought it was a complete failure and I didn't know that I was going to upload this video. I'm placing a rubber band every couple of inches to ensure we keep the shape of our fold intact. For the folding itself, it really doesn't matter. You can completely go freestyle and still make an amazing shirt. You don't have to follow any specific instructions, but it does help as a guideline. The fold didn't turn out exactly how I wanted, but with tie-dye being an abstract art, we just let it flow. Sneak in a cheeky sip of coffee. And with that, we finished our first fold, and it's on to the next one. For the second shirt, I decided to do the plain Jane sort of tie-dye spiral, and we start out by making one large pleat in the middle, and then I do a little bit of a twist with these little tweezer things that I found online, and then I use this microwave food cover. That's a popular method in the tie-dye community apparently, and this is a great way to get your circle started, or your spiral rather. And what this enables you to do is get your base form so that you can then slip over a couple of rubber bands to hold the form of it all. Now, I had rubber bands that were much too small. When the rubber bands are small and it's a bit scrunched, it's too tight for the dye and the bleach to actually bleed through, and so you get much more shallow streams of color than you'd like. It ends up working out in the end, so I can't really complain. Now that the folding's all done, we get to move on to the bleach. Now, I started out wanting to do this with the bleach in a squirt bottle, but because of the fact that I did not wet the shirt prior, which is usually what you want to do, that way the liquid won't bead off of it, I end up having to use a paintbrush, which works fine, but it definitely doesn't penetrate quite as much as I need to. And I'm really trying to lather the shirt with the bleach because it looks like it's taking really well, but it's really on the surface. So if I unfolded the shirt right now, it'd be these very skinny lines. And that's one of the reasons why I made the pleats so tall, is that so I could use a larger amount of bleach, so I could achieve larger lines and wider streams of color. Now that the shirt's damp and it will actually take a bit more liquid, I go ahead and run back over with the bleach, and I'm trying to use the paintbrush to sort of press it in and get the bottom half of the shirt to soak up a little bit more of the bleach. I also take the paintbrush and brush in between the pleats a bit to get more of the dye off, more in the center of the shirt. Now for this spiral t-shirt, I actually had a wonderful plan, but it didn't quite pan out just because I didn't have the cleanest spiral, and then also the rubber bands being too tight, I didn't get the bleach to penetrate quite as deep as I needed to do the design that I wanted to do. To fix this, I definitely could have used bigger rubber bands. I could have been a little more patient on the spiral fold, and I could have used a wet t-shirt to start instead of having to do the paintbrush technique. Man, the beauty of a camera. I swear this looked so bad in person, and it was really a struggle, and I was very much doubting myself at this point in the process, but looking back on it, it looks great and it doesn't look like it's that bad. Wrapping this up, I did the same thing to the other side, putting more of the liquid bleach and trying to make sure that it actually absorbs into the rest of the shirt. I used the paintbrush to flick some dots of bleach on the shirt where it's a little bit blank.
Finally, with all of the hard stuff out of the way, we can get to the dyeing. And I had a really good plan for this. I originally wanted to do red into gray into blue and then repeat that. I wanted to have the gray separating the colors to create this sort of gradient feel without letting them blend too much. Now, they ended up blending in the end, which was really good because the colors turned out great. Ideally, I actually have a few more rubber bands on the shirt. That way I have these sections to work with, and it's a little bit easier to do the design that I'm doing and separate these colors. However, because the rubber bands are just a bit too tight, I couldn't have them on the shirt, or else the dye wouldn't really penetrate where the rubber bands are pinching the shirt so tight. For anybody who's watching this who hasn't done tie-dye before or hasn't really experimented very much, I hope this process isn't intimidating to you at all whatsoever, because it's really not that big of a deal to make a couple of mistakes. The more you mess up, the more abstract your art gets, and tie-dye is such a forgiving form of art, so I highly encourage anybody, despite any lack of skill or confidence, to just go and try it, because it's always rewarding in the end, and it always turns out better than you think. Wrapping this shirt up, I show off my wonderfully dyed hands. You definitely can use gloves. Every time I've used them, I've just gotten dye inside the gloves anyway, so I haven't bothered. The last thing you want to do is pick up the shirt like you pick up your dog's poop when you're taking it on a walk. Now for the spiral, this is where I really thought this whole process was going to be doomed. I took off the rubber bands because, like I said, when the rubber bands are a bit too tight, you are unable to get the dye to penetrate. So I'm just going to go full freestyle here, and you'll see very shortly why this was a mistake. I actually had an excellent design for this shirt as well, but the way that the bleaching process went, I wasn't actually able to execute that properly. And because the rubber bands messed up my fold to begin with, and it just wasn't the best spiral, I kind of just freestyled it, and we just did some purple and some blue, and a little bit of gray here and there to try to break up the colors a bit and get some more gradient feel going. I didn't entirely think through how removing the rubber bands would go. I know that the spiral would be more volatile, but I didn't exactly expect anything to go wrong. However, as you see, I'm trying to move it. I drop the screen once, and then I had this genius idea to pick it up with 2 screens, and I drop it once, and then I drop it again, and then I drop it again, and then now, like the 4th drop, it's no longer a spiral. And so at this point, I'm just trying to salvage it. So I just started squirting dye all over it because I want to make sure that there's no bits where it's just that pinky looking color from the bleach. And you know, it's whatever. Like, I have some more dyed hands and I'm questioning my life at this point. Now we do the same thing, pick it up like some dog poop, and then we are moving on to the next day. After about 24 hours of curing, the shirts are ready to be rinsed out. All you got to do is run some cold water on them until they are running about clear, and then you're going to follow that up with a bit of Dawn dish detergent, because what that's going to do is get rid of any of the extra dye, and it's going to basically deactivate it so it's not going to get on any other fabrics if you decide to wash it in the washing machine. It's difficult to see the color coming through on the blue shirt just because it's wet, so it appears much darker than it is, but we just move on and we start washing out the other shirt, and it's looking pretty good. You know, you see the colors coming out, doing a little bit of this Dawn detergent, and boom, there they are, looking great in the sunline on my clothesline. I only had 2 clothespins, so I only hung one of them up. One of them is just like kind of slumped over, but it looks great. I'm actually super satisfied with it overall. Now for the big reveal, we've got the first shirt that we dyed. This one turned out amazing. I'm really happy with the colors overall. And then we have our spiral shirt. This one turned out great as well. I just wish that the distinction between the purple and the blue was a little bit more noticeable. However, I am happy with the shirt overall. Here are the backs of the shirts. I think that the backs turned out a little bit better than the fronts, at least for the blue one, just because the dye actually was able to soak up more because we bleached more. Overall, extremely satisfied. And here you have just me modeling the shirts, you know, giving you the little look around. Peep the sprung sign in the back, by the way, top right. That's I paid $30 for that. Shout out T-Pain. But overall, excellent shirts. And if anybody is interested in a shirt, man, like, I will make you one. I'm not charging like very much extra money. If you just want one, hit me up. Bring me a shirt, I'll dye it for you.
All in all, I'm pretty satisfied with the shirts given how many bumps were in the road. I had a lot of things go wrong, but ultimately this was just a test run. It wasn't really about the tie-dye. It wasn't really about the video in and of itself. It was just about learning and trying something new. And I definitely learned a lot. This is the first time that I've actually taken my camera and my tripod and gone around and filmed something and not just being on my computer talking to the camera. I don't have to worry about anything when I just have my camera right here. I don't have to worry about the shot, my lighting, everything's chill. But outside I've got clouds covering the sun and then like shady parts and sunny parts, and you know, it was a lot. In the future, I'm going to be making a lot of more videos like this, but I appreciate everybody watching, and I'm open to feedback, but ultimately this is just me freestyling it and trying something new. And so I'm not really expecting this to be like the best or the perfect content, but rather just me having fun and exploring creating different types of content, which definitely served its purpose. I definitely like the way this turned out. It actually looks really, really good on camera, which is awesome. But I don't know if anybody else knows this, but I've created a lot of tie-dye shirts. I love making tie-dye, and I'm actually pretty good at it. This was kind of like the most scuffed run that I've ever done, and it still turned out great. And that's just another reason why you should try tie-dye. It's literally impossible to fuck up. It's such an abstract art that you just kind of do whatever you do, and it usually turns out. Super fun time, super happy. Expect very, very high increasing quality as these videos go on. The amount of problems that I ran into that I didn't know how to address that I now will have a reference for and be able to look for preemptively to prevent is just crazy. And I'm really excited to continue to make videos that I've never made before so that I can do things that I struggle with, so that I can in turn just get better and be a better content creator. because this was kind of stressful. I was actually kind of stressed like making this. It was hard. I got annoyed a lot. Like I ran into a lot of problems, but we did it, and I think it turned out all right. So thank you everybody for watching. I do appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind checking out my gaming channel, I make all sorts of content over there, SethsterGG. And also, if there's any sort of recommendation you guys have for videos, then please do let me know. I'm open to literally doing anything. I want to do like food reviews and vlogs and this and that, like anything where I can take my camera and go do something, like I will do it. So thanks again, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.